Ndewo nyoma na-ege ntị. Welcome to my channel. My name is Somtochukwu and I discuss Igbo spirituality, Igbo culture, trying to uplift and grow the Igbo consciousness towards our spirituality and our cosmology. Now, some of you would ask, why is this important in modern day times? Is it important that we understand our roots from an indigenous traditional perspective and also give it a touch of modern reality? Because when you see something, when you experience culture, whether it is present or whether it is past, especially past cultures, you have to find a way to bring it close to your reality for you to understand that culture properly. Now, unfortunately for Igbo, we have numerous things that have created this cognitive and intellectual dissonance amongst our people, and that's made us to wallow in cultural ignorance, theft of identity, and most of us don't even know who we are. This is why channels like mine and works that I put out there on this particular concept and on these particular topics are quite interesting, because I want to come from an indigenous traditional perspective that makes everybody to understand how our ancestors saw things from their own mindset, from their own reality, and not from the interpretation that we have been given by church seminars and wrong socialization. So for today, I'm going to go through the Igbo concept of Nso, moralities in Igbo cosmology, Igbo culture, Igbo customs. And I have a particular reason why I want to engage in this topic, because I wrote an article on Ekpoalo, especially when it is targeted towards Iteime or Ikeime, as a result of maybe Ikeime, it's when you commit an abortion. Now, we know that as part of our Nso, as part of principles that are guiding us, we consider abortion as an abomination in our cultural context. Now, because we consider this thing as Nso, we now have a countermeasure, which is Ekpoalo and Ekpochi Onunu, which were concepts or traditional practices our ancestors used to cleanse and atone, because that particular abomination is targeted at offending Ajani. So because it is targeted at offending Ajani, we now have to go through the Igbo traditional ritual of Ekpoalo as a way of cleansing and atoning for that particular abomination that we carried out. Now, because that exists, currently, I've had a lot of people ask me questions such as, should I engage in this Ekpoalo? Why should I engage in it? What are the consequences? If I don't engage in it, what would happen to me? Oh, somebody will come and say, oh, I've gone to this Dibia and they said that it is because of this abomination. This is why I'm not growing. This is why I'm not being successful. This is why this is happening. And this is why my business is folding. And I will just say, go and do it, But I want us to know that the essence of Ekpoalo comes from a place of atoning. There shouldn't be a punishment for you to do what is right, or for you to, perform traditional rites that you should perform. It shouldn't be a situation of, oh, if you don't do it, you're going to suffer. If you don't do it, you're going to die. If you don't do it, it's going to happen to you. It should come from a place of atonement, from a place of deep regret. Now, we're going to get into this later on in this video, but let's talk about moralities that we have in Igbo spirituality and our cosmology. Now, gini bụ nsọ ani? Nsọ ani bụ ife obodo na-asọ nsọ. Kedu ife obodo na-asọ nsọ? What's a community? These are taboos. Actions or activities that an environment, a village, a community, a people that they abhor. They will come together and say, you shouldn't engage in this activity. Oh, so we're finding our son. So this is what we want to avoid. This is what we know, that when we do these things, we're going to be in disarray. We will not be able to have a unified community or a unified spiritual alignment. So, these things are moralities. principles that guide our existence, that protects our existence, that helps us to maintain an established relationship with one another, and spiritual elements that are found within our Igbo cosmological system. Now, these moralities, and so they have always been in existence prior to the institutionalization of Christianity in Igbo. This is why it becomes absurd when somebody comes and tells us that the church brought in morality, that the church taught us how to know God, that the church made us to have a good relationship with this God factor or this God creator. But in our indigenous society, we had customs. We had things that we consider as taboos. We had things that we did, activities that if you engage in it, you're declaring that you want to be in disarray with your spiritual and ancestral forces. So moralities, guiding principles, Ten Commandments, all those things, it is predominantly existing in our indigenous Igbo society prior to religious interference or religious institutionalization within the environment of our Igbo. Now, where can we find this unso? Unso exists in different aspects of our life. Different aspects of how we exist as an Igbo. Now, we need to also understand that the Igbo concept of ordinary, ihedinani, and omenani, they are both intertwined. So you cannot talk about Igbo cultures and Igbo customs without talking about Igbo fundamentals. So omenani becomes how ordinary becomes things that we have or we see in our indigenous society. Omenani becomes how do we interact with them. For instance, the Igbo concept of, the Nnewi concept of Ezemewi Ezedoga is a deity. This deity is part of Nnewi fundamental. It is part of Nnewi ordinary. Ifedinani Nnewi. Now, when we now talk about Omenani, we will now talk about how do Nnewi people interact, communicate with this deity, Ezemewi Ezedoga. What festival? Talk about the festival of Okam that is only performed by this particular deity that you can't even see in other communities, because other communities will also have their own version of this practice. So, what are these some moralities? How do they come to be? Where do we see them? We'll now talk about different aspects of the Igbo system. We'll now talk about Nsochi. These are moralities that are accompanying a person's chi. Moralities and principles that enables a good relationship between a person and their chi. Now, some of this it varies. My Nsochi would not be your Nsochi. My Nsochi could be to abstain from eating some certain food. My Nsochi could be to abstain from engaging in some kind of behaviors. Probably don't take alcohol. Probably don't go out and stay outside as late as so time. It could be my Nsochi. Your own Nsochi could be different. But it is there to help you to maintain a relationship with your chi and to maintain a relationship with yourself. Nsochi is also known as Nsonwe, because when you maintain those moralities that are accompanying your chi, you're also preserving yourself, your dignity and your identity. Your Nsochi could also even mean that you should not engage in some sort of wayward life, some sort of business, some sort of it's numerous and it differs. It is not a one shoe fits all. It differs. But Nsochi is there. These are moralities that a person needs to obtain or to observe to be in an alignment, to be in a relationship with your chi. Now, the next one is Awo. In Igbo cosmological science, Awo is the energy of creativity. It enables you to have a good relationship with your creative mind. So the nso that is going to be accompanying your agwo would be nso or moralities or principles that are going to help you to be in continuous growth with this your agwo energy. So which means that every negative activities or every vices that is going to impede your creative mind will be considered as an nso, things you're not supposed to do for you. Now we now have nso obodo. Nso obodo. These are moralities that a community comes together and says these things are things that we are not going to do, because we want to be in a good standing with Obodo, with ancestral forces, and also to be in good standing with one another. This is why if you come to Anan Nnewi, you could see that Nnewi people don't eat eke. No, people don't eat eke. Idemili people don't eat eke. Other communities, they also have their own sacred animals. Also, again, in Nnewi, we have this mourning period of Asalo Edo. Asedo was one of the Edo's daughters that died. Now, Nnewi people now have this mourning period around September-ish, where you don't use Nzu. Nnewi Manzu on this on around that September-ish period. Nnewi Manzu, because we are remembering and we are mourning the date of Asedo. So because we know that back in the day, when you go to anybody's house, one of the things that they are giving you as a sign of acceptance is agenyeginzu, emanzu. Now, during this mourning period, nobody, no shrine or dibia will do what we call emanzu or ekanzu during this Asaloedo. So we now say nso obodo. Then my community again in the Navy, we don't another area we also it is a taboo for somebody from Navy to be eating ewi or if in the banana so again we don't deep in Navy and zoshi. We would say that in our community we do not take what does not belong to you. So these things, it differs. It depends on the ones that can be found or can be seen in your community. Now we now have Nswane. Nswane ranges from do not sleep with a married woman or do not sleep with somebody's wife. Do not commit adultery. It ranges to do not kill, do not murder, don't waste blood, don't kill anybody. This is why abortion becomes an nso, it becomes an arrow, an abomination to ndị Igbo. Another answer is do not desecrate an ancestral shrine or an ancestral altar. This thing that we now see that is quite popular in current day times, where anybody can move into any shrine and decides to pull it down and uproot it. It was considered as nswane. We have so many nswane, and each of these things are targeted at preserving our identity. Now, what we now do here in current day, another kind of nso that we have is nso alose, because some of us are under the impression that alose Igbo deities are devoid of moralities, but Igbo deities have high-standing moralities that you have to preserve and obey and keep to taboos that you don't defy, especially if you are an akajofo, you are an intercessor to that deity. If you are akajofo to that deity, you know the things that you are supposed to keep to avoid being in an enmity with that deity. So it varies and they are numerous. Now, I don't want to start listing them out because these are things you should go and investigate for yourself and find out which one is my insochi, which one is my insawo, which one is the insult to the deity in my community, which one is my insobodo. It differs from community to community. Makibo to ninuse kandi neri kandi naso or ihe ndi neri kandi naso. Your community could be accepting this particular custom and tradition, but another community would abhor it, would see it as a taboo. So for you to understand these practices or these moralities, it is going to be very indigenous to you. And it is going to be from your roots, whether from your lineage or from your family. Now, another thing I also want to point out is that we have other practices that are not necessarily considered as abominations, but they are vital to us as Ndichi. And they include ritual practices such as Emandichi or Isirindichi ite, Iburu Chiginri, Iragu. Now, when it comes to Iragu, our ancestors will tell you that Iragu, it's a way of growing your creative level. So if you want to be, to be stagnant or to be stagnated in life, you can live without knowing your agu. But if you want to grow in life, you should perform the traditional rituals of Iragu. Imachi iburu chi ite or isiri chi ite becomes a way of energizing and acknowledging this entity spirit chi. Now, are there any established consequences? I don't think anybody can give you that answer. Because what we have today is every Dibia says, oh, it is because you don't energize your chi. This is why you are not progressing. It is because you're not doing this. This is why you're not doing that. But in our ancestral tradition, these practices existed. The milestones that we have in current day time, it is not the same thing as their own. Their milestones could be something as simple as having your family and fertility. But the milestones that we have today would be, funds to raise children, funds to marry a woman, funds to have a comfortable house, funds to even have extra to give people or to imebo dogun. So the milestones of yesterday is no longer the milestones of today. So it becomes ridiculous when we are being told that it is because you're not doing so and so for your ancestral spirit, for your chi, or that's why you're not progressing. Now, us performing these rites and observing our nsochi or nsawo is targeted at where it is coming from. It is coming from deep reverence. It is coming from deep honor. It is coming from within. And it's not attached to material needs. And this is why when some people, when they perform these traditional rites and they don't see the results that they have in their head, they will tell you that, oh, this Dibia is a scammer. Oh, that there is nothing in Igbo spirituality ordinary. Because they are misinterpreting and misrepresenting what ordinary means to Igbo. Another thing here is the traditional rite of Walo after Kimetere Iharo. What does it mean? Like I said earlier, it's a way or it's a traditional cleansing and atoning rite that we use. Emeda Ajana Obi. Any abomination that has been committed, it is a grievous, sin against Ajana. So when we perform this rite, we are atoning. We are atoning for the part we played in defiling Ajana. Now today, what we now have are people that will tell you that, because if imetaro, should you go and do it, or do you have to wait till the consequences are clear? What are those consequences? If you had an abortion, they will tell you you will not be able to get married, you will not be able to have children, you will not be able to, your husband might be stagnated. One sort of thing. This is what they tell us these days. Now, I'm not saying whether it is true or whether it is false, but I'm just saying that performing the rites of Igbo comes from a place of deep regret for the actions that you committed. It is coming from a place of you realizing that Igbo Lord, you eliminated a growing life. So you need to atone for that arrow abomination that you committed. So when we now look at this interpretation I'm giving, you would see that performing these rites are coming from a place of deep reverence and understanding of our spiritual practices. And it should not be misrepresented. Because if it is coming from a place of materialism, which means that, oh, it is because I'm not moving forward and I went to a Dibia and the Dibia says that this is what I did, it does not make sense again. Because it is coming from a place of material need. So what if you're not adequately financially? What if you are financially able or capable? You have the funds, you're living the good life. So you would go on and committing abortions and paying for abortions. But if it is coming from a place of deep regret and understanding of Igbo traditional practices, you will understand that these things are coming from a place of morality. It is coming from a genuine place of you recognizing that what you did is wrong. It is not going to come from a place of you remembering that your business is no longer progressing, and it could be possibly because of the abomination that you paid for or you committed. So what I'm trying to say here is that Igbo Mwelonso, which means that we should learn how to observe and respect our Igbo traditional principles and moralities, in wherever aspect, chi, awundi, chi, obodo, the rest of it, ajani, all those things. We should regard them. Now, the accompanying traditional rituals should also come from a place of deep reverence, acknowledgement, regrets in atoning. This is when we are now going to say that we have successfully engaged in Igbo traditional practices from a place of love, honor, and acknowledgement for our ancestors and for their ancestral spirits. So if you want more of these conversations, you can follow me up on my IG and my Facebook pages. I upload weekly, and I also listen to people who have questions to ask. It has to be very brief so that I can also attend to other people and do other things as well. So until next time, yeah guys, keep in touch with me. Don't forget to subscribe and also share this video to your friends and to your relatives. Yeah guys,